sad. It's definitely something that we we looked forever to find a house. It took us a year to find this house, and then to lose it in 3 months, we feel like we were cheated out of it, you know?
It's been more than a year since Coffey Park residents lost their homes to the Santa Rosa wildfires, and yet they're still picking up the pieces.
Like a rake or a broom?
There's construction all around, but not everyone is rebuilding.
You know, all these houses that are being built right now, it looks like there's a lot of houses, but you don't realize that in between there's 15 houses that are missing. Everybody's out here learning to be a contractor, insurance broker, emotional psychologist.
This disaster, again, was unlike most others in that most folks that have to get the permits are really replacing their entire homes. It was a very small percentage that were actually damaged. It was mostly just complete total loss.
The Edneys can speak to that. A year after losing their home, they're finally breaking ground, just a few blocks away from Steve.
Master bedroom and then 2 other bedrooms and then the bathroom.
It was the first home they owned, where their daughter was born and where they planned to grow their family.
As soon as I saw that I couldn't see out the window, I knew something was wrong. It was either smoke related or something, so I yelled for her. I said, get our kid in the car now, I'll meet you downstairs.
David is a sheriff's deputy, so once the family was safe, he went on to help others.
I told her, I said, hey, look, I love you. You guys are safe. That's all that matters. I said, I have to go to work.
That must have been really tough for you, just letting go.
It was. I've been a law enforcement wife for almost 7 years now, so I understood what was happening, but it didn't make it any easier. I told him he needed to come home safe, that this family wasn't going to work without him.
Returning days later to find just the ashes of their home was only the beginning of an exhausting year-long journey for them and for their neighbors. When we spoke with Jesse at the Santa Rosa Planning Department in late September, he said within city limits, out of 3,000 homes that were destroyed, 1,172 were in the permitting process, and about 700 were currently under construction.
And how many homes have been finished?
23.
There are so many new victims of the fires, and there will be more. The fires are getting worse. What can you tell people like that? What lies ahead?
It's going to seem like there are too many obstacles to overcome. Just building in itself is fairly complicated.
It's been an emotional roller coaster, to say the least.
It's taken a long time.
Last week we were approved for our permits after being denied 3 times by the city.
You can't begin to build your home until you have a permit. You can't get a permit until you have a design, for which you need architects and contractors. And you can't bring in your plans to the city until you know how much money you will get from your insurance.
It's one of those things that you don't actually ever think about. You just think, okay, here's my insurance, I'm covered if anything happens, we're good to go. And you don't actually think about everything that's involved with what your dwelling is worth, what your personal property is worth.
It was a fight from the beginning. They wanted to give us the minimums of everything, and it was a total loss. As you can see, there's nothing left. We spent over a month detailing everything we had owned, down to like the last battery.
Your clothing, your kitchenware,
everything you can think of you have in your life, property-wise, is what it includes. Everything in your garage, your kitchen, your bedroom, your shed, everything, every little thing.
Your family heirlooms, my jewelry, everything that was ever important or dear to us.
They say they spent about 3 months accounting for their losses, had to fire an adjuster. The process was long and tedious, and then the insurance company was mailing checks to the address of the house that got burned, something that created yet more backlog at USPS. And finally, when the money for their personal property arrived, it wasn't what they expected.
When we submitted everything, we probably submitted over $400,000 worth of stuff. They came back with, like maybe 50% of the max. And they were like, we'll give you 140 and that's it.
The Edneys issued a complaint to the insurance commissioner. That was just one of 537 requests for assistance that the California Department of Insurance received from last year's North Bay fires. The Edneys believed the complaint to the commissioner helped. All of it makes you wonder, why rebuild there if they could buy a new home elsewhere with the insurance payment?
Was it scary thinking of coming back? Did you guys think about, let's maybe go somewhere where this is not prone to happening again?
We sure did.
Yeah. Why do you choose to rebuild here?
One very, very significant reason, and it's the cost of housing in this area is absolutely out of control. After the fire, I had a bit of post-traumatic stress and just couldn't see ourselves coming back here with the trauma that we had experienced. So we went out and looked for houses, and there was nothing in the vicinity. What did we do? 15, 20 miles out in each direction, under $1 million that didn't need a couple $100,000 worth of work.
These fires worsen California's housing crisis. With fewer homes in the areas impacted, rents go up. The demand for construction also increased the cost of building. Insurance, if available, is more expensive.
We also know the climate's getting warmer. The climate change in particular indicates that we're going to see more fires, more frequent, more severe fires, more losses, and the insurers know that. And so they're reacting by saying, well, look, in some places, from their perspective, it's just too risky.
When you add to that the housing crisis, it seems like in these places, only a few people are going to be able to live. Perhaps those who can afford insurance.
I think where this is going to fall the harshest is on people with lower incomes. People with more money will be able to pay the higher price, will be able to cover these sorts of things, but people on more fixed incomes or lower incomes are going to find it more challenging to find insurance in these locations.
It's been more than a year since Coffey Park residents lost their homes to the Tubbs fire, and yet they're still picking up the pieces. In the past 2 years, more than 9,000 homes have been destroyed by wildfires in California. 58 people died, and almost 3 million acres have burned. In Coffey Park, like in other California communities, residents have bonded, sharing lessons, resources, and themselves, rebuilding together a new kind of normal.
Remember our trampoline at our house?
Yeah, I do. I do.
Can we buy another trampoline?
Yes, we'll get another trampoline when we get our house all rebuilt, I promise.